Hey there everyone, it's Craig and I'm back with the second part of this drawing video. I would like to apologise for the delay in getting this video out, but I'll explain what happened. Last time when I was trying to record, two things happened. First thing was I forgot to turn on my microphone on my camera, so I ended up recording the images and it had no sound whatsoever. It didn't even have the cameras on board, microphone recording. It was just complete like white noise, so couldn't really use that. And then secondly, some of the pens that I was using, particularly this one, the flesh colour, can't really see that because it's out of focus. Yeah, I ran out of that, so ended up kind of not ruining the drawing, but as you can see, it's kind of patchy in some areas, these lighter areas, not these darker ones. And that is because when the pen dries out, you end up trying to try and force as much ink out as you can, and it ends up kind of scratching the paper, and yeah, that's not very good. So I had to go out and buy some new pens. This flesh colour one, this red one for a shirt, and this grey one for some of the shading and stuff. And whilst I was buying that, I also bought some white gouache as well for the highlights. So it should come out. In some ways it'll come out worse because, like I say, the skin colour is kind of a bit patchy in some areas, but it should come out better in a way as well because the pens I've got are newer. I haven't used them yet, and also the white gouache for the highlights should look better than what I was originally going to do with like these areas where I was going to just have them not coloured in. So that's why the delay happened. So anyway, let's get into it. So this one should be, as I said in the last video, it should be a lot more focused on what I'm doing and talking about what I'm doing, rather than the other video, which did go on for quite a while, and that ended up taking me, I don't know, I think it was about 4 hours for the rendering and 4 hours for the upload as well, so quite a lot of time spent on that. But yeah, as you can see, I've done quite a lot of the face and the upper body, at least with the skin. Done a hair as well. If you notice, I've added in this kind of section here. In the original drawing, she doesn't have any hair like over her eye, but I figured I would just add a bit because I felt it looked a bit weird. It was kind of just an empty area, and I kind of like the hair going across the face like that, so I added that in. But yeah, for now I'm just gonna go over a bit of this this upper body area, try and get it as sort of balanced and streak free as I can. Pretty much done. A lot of this area, particularly on the neck and the sort of chest area, will be shaded in a darker colour, so you won't even really see this. But it's good to have this base layer of colour, because you always want to be going in with the lighter colour first and not just going straight into the darker colours. It just seems to work better that way, building up the layers. So that's done. I'm going to move on to her legs now because I haven't done any of that, and I'll probably do some of it, at least like the first layer in real time, then do the next layer in time lapse. Alright, so I'm moving on to her legs now, and as you can see, I've kind of got this area here that I was originally going to use for the highlights, but as I say, now that I've got the gouache, I can just go over that without worrying. Camera straps in the way a bit. Also, the lighting from outside may change quite a bit because it's quite late on in the day. It's like 7:30. It's still really sunny, and it's kind of it keeps getting cloudy then sunny, cloudy then sunny, and getting like really bright. It's actually shining like in my face and on the camera at the moment, or at least on the camera viewfinder. So yeah, I'll try and sort that out as much as I can in the editing. Also, don't know why I'm using the short end of this. I should be using this chisel end. Chisel end is good for big areas like this, but also does have the precision of the actual pointy end. And when you're doing large areas like this, you just want to try and go one way with everything, or at least kind of like try and get it to go as as one way as possible, so you have less streaks. Although I find that with skin colours or skin tones, whatever you want to call it, having like some areas a little bit darker and lighter than others is not really a problem, because you look at your actual skin, like if you look at your hand or something, there's so many different skin tones going on there that you don't really have one colour. So I find that with skin tones, with metal, wood, stuff like that, clothing as well. Clothing's a big one, where if you look at like your sleeve or something with a lot of wrinkles, there's like so many different variations of one colour going on there. Again, that's another one that I feel it's kind of like being a bit lazy or cheating with it, that you don't have to worry about it as much, but it does create a good effect. You want it to look more natural. Got quite a lot of pencil lines here. Hold on a sec, I'll just have to go in with my eraser. Alright, I think I've got the pencil lines out as best I can. You'll find that that's something you need to look out for when you're doing your sketches, to make sure you're not going too deep with the pencil, because otherwise you end up leaving these like really deep pencil lines that you can't get out, and that can end up hindering your colouring later on. But I think, as I said I think I mentioned it in the first video, I might have mentioned it when I was recording this, or trying to record this last time, that sometimes the pencil lines mix quite well if you're doing like grey shading or grey areas. Kind of gives you a sort of grainy effect, and like I said, like that can work quite well with grey shading and stuff like that. So sometimes, again, it's kind of like cheating. I'll leave pencil lines in when I'm doing them areas, just for more effect, because it ends up kind of like pushing it about. It looks quite good. Alright, so I've done, like I say, the first layer, and I think I'm going to do another layer in time-lapse now, because the skin is quite, I don't know, it's darker than this, so it needs another layer or so. So I'll do that in time-lapse, and then we'll get on with another part of the drawing. Alright, so I've done her legs now, and I almost forgot to do the underside of this leg, which is why it's always good to have the source material lying around so you can see what you're missing and whatnot. I'll probably come back in and maybe do a little bit more of that when I'm doing the shading and the highlights. But for now, I think we'll move back up to the upper part of the body, and we'll start adding in some shading up there. Alright, so I'm going to start putting some of the shading on her neck and her ears and stuff. Actually, I could do with just topping up her ear a little bit, because it's a bit pale. I think I only went over it once just to kind of get down a little bit. There we go. The inside of her ear is going to be darker, and then have a bit of cross hatching over it anyway, so I don't need to be too careful with it. And a lot of her neck, as I say, is covered with this darker colour. Pretty much, I don't know, it's pretty much all of it actually. So, again, don't need to be too critical about where I'm putting it, because, as I say, you want it to look natural. You don't really want it to look like you've thought about, obviously you want to put some thought into it, but you don't want to be, really thinking about it, if that makes sense. And even though I'm going to go in with the highlight later, I think I will just leave that area. Actually, no, I'll go over it, because that way I'm not kind of dictating where I need to put it. It's just like anywhere around there, really. these areas are a bit darker because I went in them originally with a different colour, then decided to go with this kind of, it's more like an orangey colour, I guess. And those these side bits are probably a bit dark. I'm going to fill in a little bit more of this. Oh, this part on the drawing is quite dark actually, so I might just go in with a bit more. There's a bit of a highlight there. Looks a little bit weird there because, as I say, the pen, the flesh colour kind of pulled up a bit of the, well, kind of like scratched at the paper a little bit when I was going over there. So that's just what happens. So if there's anything to take away from this video, it's keep your supplies up to date, because otherwise stuff like this will happen. It's not something I like to do, but if it gets like too bad, I can always edit it with Photoshop or something like that. I'd say not something I normally do or like to do, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a helping hand, especially when things like this happen. Well, it wasn't like I was trying to, be lazy or something. It was just, pens running out and stuff like that. So yeah, quite a lot of this area is darkened. And this bit over here is a bit lighter. So when I go on with the highlights, it should contrast quite nicely. And there's a couple more like pen lines that I need to put in later on, which will help, especially like over here. Alright, so I think that's about done for now. I'll let that dry a bit. I'll move on to her face, which actually doesn't really need that much more. Probably just a bit, needs a bit darkening up here at the top here. And yeah, I think that's about all it needs on there, because these lines, sorry, not these lines, this shading up here is not too dark in most of the places, like under her eye and under her hair and stuff like that. You don't want it to be really dark. Just seen on the camera there, this area looks a bit strange. But as you can see, it does, when it dries, it does become a lot lighter than what it goes down as, so that's something to keep in mind when you're using these kind of pens. You don't want to like put it down straight away and then think, oh god, like that needs more or less or something. Just let it dry a bit and then you can see what needs doing. I think actually this side needs white highlight putting over it, so I don't really need to worry about that. And okay, the camera is still focused on this area as well. So this area over here is very dark as well, so I can just go in here. So I think I'll kick it in a time lapse here, since it's just more of the same. Alright, so that's done now, and since I'm about done with the flesh tones up here, I'm going to go in with the Sakura Pigma Micron and add in some of the kind of cross-hatching shading that is, there's quite a lot of it on this side of the back. And this is just basically going in with very fine lines, using a 01 here, so it's pretty fine. Probably could go in with an even smaller pen if you wanted to. So I find that using a lot of small lines is better than using, like a bigger pen to do it kind of a lot like quicker. And then there's a little bit over here as well in this area. And a few bits over here. This line actually needs to be a bit longer. And I think I'll do the ear as well. Alright, there we go. That's the that's kind of the detailing done there. So since we're up on this side of the body and that, I may as well start doing some of the shading there. Just got a couple of eyelashes to add there. There we go. So I think what I'll do is I'll go into time lapse, add in a couple more lines up on the bandage, and come back with some of the shading. So now you can see I've added all the detail on the bandages there, and I'm going to pull out this Cure Colour Warm Grey #1, and this is going to be quite light. I might do some of her arm here as well, since it's the same colour, the bandages that is. And it's just basically going in and looking at where the folds are and where the hair is and stuff like that, and just basically doing that. Again, this doesn't need to be you know, really methodical and thought out, because again it's just it's kind of random when you look at clothing. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of these lines. They're just another lines of shading. But like I say, if you look at like kind of where like these folds are, that can give you an indication of where to put the shading. So I'll normally put it towards the kind of like ends of the, you know, either end of the bandages. And this works for, you know, a lot of different kinds of clothing and stuff like that. Let's say if you look for where the hair is and then put it near there. You don't want to put it right under the hair. You want to put it just off to the side, or depending on where the light is. Although with a lot of these like manga, anime drawings and stuff, where the light come from, or where the light is like coming from, doesn't really make that much of a difference to where like these highlights and these shadows are. Especially with the eyes, they kind of just have like a mind of their own. That's something I'll talk about in that video that I'm eventually going to do about you know, tips for drawing characters and stuff like that. I mean, you find that a lot, I mean, with this drawing, like, the light's coming from behind her, I think, and yet she's got highlights, like, over here, and, like, her eyes, which she shouldn't be able to, like have at all. So, yeah, sometimes it doesn't really matter. I think that's about it for that. I don't think it needs much more. I may go in with a slightly darker one for some of these, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, like I said, I'll go into time lapse and do some of this this arm as well. Alright, so I'm about done with all that stuff, and this is where I think the drawing really starts to, you know, to come into its own, when you start adding all this shading and stuff like that. Because, you know, when you've just got the skin colour in it, it kind of looks a bit weird. But yeah, once you start putting a bit of the shading in, you can start to really see it. So I think I'm going to start with the clothing now, and I think I will do this weird thing first, just because it's short and I'll get out of the way easy. So I will grab a black pen, and I'll be right back and do that. Alright, there we go. I'm not sure what it is with black pens, but they always seem to leave little bits of white patches, whilst like other colours don't. So with that and with the hair, I'll have to go in with another layer or two just to make sure it's jet black and there's no white patches. So next I'm going to add a bit of shade in here, because I forgot this bit was white, so I could have done that whilst I was doing the rest of it, but whatever. And this has a bit more sort of like kind of line shading down here, which I'll do after I put the colour in. Not really sure like what that is, like the line shading, because obviously that doesn't happen on actual clothing. But whatever like the idea is behind it, it looks good on comic books and that, so I guess that is why they do it. A lot of these things is more kind of, they're not going for complete realism if it looks better to do it this way. And here I'm using the Kukaku 217 cadmium red. Kind of, this is the wrong one. I've got a newer one which is not drying out as much. Well, not drying out at all because it's brand new. But this is a kind of orangey red. I noticed that when I was kind of looking at these bleach covers, because sometimes I like to look at it online, because they have if I just show it quickly, you can see they have like all these like text and stuff like that, and sometimes on some of the drawings or the covers, there'll be like a really like crucial thing like down here that you need to draw, and it's like this will be in the way, or the title will be in the way. So something sometimes I'll go online and try and find a version that doesn't have all that. And it's weird because they do it well, obviously, like with American comics as well. There's like variations of the cover, not actually like with what's on it, but there's like different colours and stuff like that, and obviously like with the text and stuff moved around. Not really sure why that is, but yeah, I found that with this drawing, like the one I've got, if I bring it back over again, it's the skin colour's quite light. And the top's quite light as well, but like with a different version I saw, the colour of her skin is kind of more like what I've got it now, a bit darker, and also her shirt was kind of like a different red as well, and there was like highlights in different places and stuff like that. So not really sure why they do that, but it can be kind of helpful to see it in different colours, and it also like might. If you don't have a certain colour, but then you look at it and it's a different colour, you might think, oh, like I will try that one then. But so I mainly look at them just because it's annoying as hell when there's like text and stuff in the way when you're trying to like get like a certain part of the drawing done, or if you're trying to find out like like what colour something is. And I found that especially with some of the new ones, because they have some kind of like I don't know what you call it, like a filter on top of it or something, and them ones are like very greatly. So I don't know, it's a bit weirder is all I think. But yeah, this red's coming down quite nicely. I probably should have used the chisel end for that part, just to make it a bit less streaky. But I'll find, I seem to find, and I'll probably, I'll put it like the end of the video, that when you scan in these pictures, a lot of these kinds of like problems with the colours and stuff like that seem to disappear, because the lighting and stuff like that, and it like changes the contrast a little bit. So like you can see, well, you can probably see on the camera that like I was saying, like with the skin color and stuff like that, where it's a bit patchy and streaky and stuff. Like a lot of that will probably not be visible when I scan it in, and it's usually the case. Right, so I think you've seen enough of me doing this. It's just a bit more here and a bit more down the side, so I'll kick it into time lapse and finish that up. Alright, so now I've done all the colouring, added a bit more shading to the grey areas, and some of these lines of shading down here and up here. Now I'm just doing a bit of shading around this part of the shirt where it's kind of like clinging. So I've took out a darker red here, and this should give me the desired effect, and I think it pretty much got it. If I need to, I can always pull out an even darker red. I'll just go over this colour with the original red. And I want to leave just a little bit under the shading, just for to create a bit more texture. And might go in with a little bit of white on there later on. And this is like the same sort of thing as the grey areas. Just want to go over where these like kinds of folds are, or these kinds of like stretched areas. And that goes for pretty much the rest of it. A bit on these there's like these like tassels or something back here, which they got cut off a little bit because of where I put the drawing. They probably need a bit more detail with some pen and stuff as well. Yeah, this looks about the right colour for the shading. Put a bit up here actually. I'll put a little bit of grey on it just for slightly different colour. And then down here, probably need to go over it again with the original red, just in some areas, because there's a few bits of white showing up. And this darker area here as well. That way you really get the shaded effect. And probably some over here and over here as well, to complement the grey shading on the white bit. And then when I go in with the white, this should really stand out. I think this pen's drying up a little bit, but I think I've got about enough there to make it stand out. Like I say, once I go in with the white, should be fine. Right, there we go. That about does that. So next up, I think I'll go on to the legs and stuff. There's a couple bits of line work that I'm not sure if I should do now or later. I'll just refocus the camera for now anyway.